Hi, how's everybody doing? This is Sunday. I hope everybody enjoyed their Sunday. The day is very nice. It's 62 degrees outside today. Today we got my show is called Fix My Money, a Budget. Today our guest is Jeff Whitelow. He's a community person. He also teach excuse me, literacy. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. But anyway, hey Jeff, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing good. So let's get right into it. So let's talk about net income.
Okay. Well, first, before we talk about net income, let's talk about gross income. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my work. I work in the nonprofit arena. I do community development work, and I think part of the community development work is financial literacy because I work mostly in low income, underserved communities. So this is one of the focus. If we can figure out finances, we can figure out a way to free ourselves from the bonds that we have in our community. So, okay, so you asked me about net income. Net income is what you get after gross income. So let's look at gross income. Gross income is all of your income before there's deductions. And deductions could be taxes, it could be 401k, it could be child support. So things like that. So let's say, for example, my gross income is, $40,000. And then part of my income tax and other things is, for example, 10%. So that means that 4,000 of my 40,000 will be deducted from my gross income, which will get me to my net income, which would be 36,000. So this is just an example because most times with taxes and Social Security and other things that we have to pay, like insurance and things like that, it would be a lot more than that. I think on average it's around 20%. But just for the sake of argument, so 10% is taken out of my money. I make $40,000 a year, so that's $4,000 subtracted from 40,000, which will bring me to $36,000. So $36,000 would be your net income. So just to sum that up, it's your gross income minus all your deductions will get you to your net income. So that would be your net income.
Okay, so after I take out after they take out the $4,000, and so that means that I have what 34,000.
No,
So
36,000.
oh, 36,000. Right, because it's only four. Um, what should I do then after that to set up a
Okay.
budget?
So what you're doing now, okay, so that's your real money that you have to spend for the year, right? So now you have $36,000 that you're spending. So let's say you divide your 36,000 by 12, you'll come up with $3,000 a month. Okay? So that's your that's your income pretty much per month. It might go up a little bit, go down, and depending on how many days you work during the month, whether or not you take vacation times. And then also, if you're an hourly worker, it would be different because you might work overtime some hours. But let's assume that you're paid salary. So that means that you'll have $36,000 a year divided by 12, which brings you out to $3,000 a month. So let's work with that easy model, and that's the money that you would have to budget for the month. And then what is a budget? And a budget could be many things. I mean, one of the things you have to ask yourself is like, what is your expenditures? What do you have to pay for? Do you rent an apartment? Do you own a home? Because if you rent an apartment, you're paying for the apartment rent. If you own a home, you're paying for the mortgage. So we have to look at housing. And then we have to look at, like, how much is your cell phone? You know what I'm saying? That's a bill we have to pay. Do you pay for electricity? Do you pay for a gas bill? Do you pay for water? All of these things you need to list down and say, this is what I spend per month on these particular items. And this is what your expenditures are. So you look at all the things that you spend your money on, and then you subtract that from the $3,000 that you get every month. And then from there, after you look at all of that, then that's the money either you have for savings, or you would either be in a surplus, or you would be in a deficit.
Okay. So after I so like what is the percentage? Like is it like 30% for housing?
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, that you can't. I mean, if you were starting off in the perfect world, between 30 and 30%. But if you already live in an apartment, it's whatever you pay. It might be
Oh, okay.
40%. It might be 25%. But I mean, that's a great question. It's just like we're looking at your budget right now with your income. You know what I'm saying? And based on your income, then you can and then we can go from there. So like if you want to use a real life example, we can look at what your income is. So that's all the monies that you come in with now. So
Mhm.
if you want to use you as an example, then we can absolutely, use you as an example. And then we can go through, what you pay per month. Or we could just use the example that we're using now. So it just depends. So if you
Yeah,
want to make
just
it
use the example that we're using now.
right, because if you want to make it personal, then then we'd have to get all your financials and then talk about that and then go from there. You know what I'm saying? So from that example, so for instance, I mean, you might be paying $1,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? You are in Detroit, or you might be paying $600 a month. So if you're paying $1,000 a month, it's around 33%. But if you're paying $600, a month, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot less. You follow what I'm
Okay.
saying in terms of the percentage. So I mean, that's the percentage is basically you should be within that particular percent. For your household expenses, everything should be within $1,000. So when you look at what your monthly rent is and the expenditures that goes around your rent, you know what I'm saying, which is the gas bill, the water bill, the electric bill, that in itself, I mean, I would try to keep that under 33%, but a lot of times rent has been going up, and it's expensive, what I'm saying, as a single person. Now if you have a roommate, of course you will save a lot more money, and that's what I'm trying to get people to think about. I know, we're individuals and we want to be on our own, but in this today's society, sometimes it makes sense to have a roommate. You know what I'm saying? Someone that you can get along with, a family member that understands your situation, a best friend, a partner or something like that. Because when you're looking at rent nowadays in a lot of cities, like where I live in Chicago or New York or DC, rents are terribly expensive. And in order to get out, some of our deficits, what I'm saying, with, credit card spending and, other things like that, we need to save money. One of the best ways to save money is to, try to get our rent as low as possible. And sometimes that means having a roommate.
Excuse me. So if a person is not familiar, I mean, if they used to living on their own, and like you suggest to get a roommate, um, is it best to like research it, to like have like read articles and stuff like that, how to deal with roommates or how to split the spending and stuff like that if the person is not familiar?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, anything you can do. I mean, one of the things, yeah, I will find out, how to live with a roommate. There's articles and books that you can Google. Also, like if you're into like for instance, I speak French, so like I would go to a French network. Well, I also speak Spanish. I would go to a French Spanish speaking network session, and maybe find someone who also speaks French or Spanish and say, and they're looking for a roommate too. And it's like, well, maybe we can be, roommates, because we have something in common. So it's good to have something in common with a person, but that doesn't make for a perfect kind of like living arrangements, but it's a
Mhm.
step in the right direction. I mean, nothing is 100%, you know, but, and that's something you have to understand, but I'd rather be able to afford somewhere where I can live, um, than to not afford somewhere where I live and I'm just struggling and I'm using credit cards to pay off things and I'm going deeper and deeper into debt. But I would argue that once you decide to like move in with someone, set up the rules. Let people know that, you can't go into my room. Um, Make sure you clean the bathroom after yourself. Make sure that if a guest who's not visiting from out of town stays in for, more than 1 or 2 days, then, the rent may have to be, reconsidered and split 3 ways. I mean, all of these things you need to come up with before you move in with someone. You know what I'm saying? Like after you use a pan, please wash your dishes and things, because then that means that you could be a very clean person, but you can be going into a nasty kitchen. And once you have the rules established, then if an argument breaks out, you could just simply pull out the paper and say, well, these are the 15 rules that we're supposed to adhere to. So those are some of the things that I would definitely do, is just make sure you have the rules, you know what I'm saying? And, don't eat my food, and, just lay out the law. I mean, those things you can Google on the internet, so you can make sure that, when you move into a space, it's not perfect, but there's rules and regulations that, both of you guys would have to follow.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, because most people, I would think, like myself, I don't have a roommate, and I know when I lived in California, I had roommates. Everything was pretty good. It was just one roommate that ate somebody's food and blamed it on me. But I found that to be funny now. But then it wasn't funny. But so basically today we talked about net income and the the deductions what the government takes out of your check. So the person divided $36,000 in 12 months, and that was $3,000 a month. And then we were saying that the rent might be 1,000 or $600. It all all depends on where you live in and where you stay in the area that you live in. So we talked all about that today, and we also talked about roommates. So roommate is a very interesting thing. I mean, subject that to think about, because most people is so used to living on their own, they don't want a roommate. But in this economic state that we're in right now, a roommate would be very helpful on both parties. So it can work out. And then if you're not familiar with it, you could definitely Google or read a book, and that would give you an idea. And then also setting rules for the living space that you live in. So, Jeff, do you have any closing statements?
Well, I mean, some people will watch the video and say, well, $1,000 is not realistic, based in the area where I live at. So people need to look at, where they live at. I mean, Chicago is kind of expensive, but for $1,000, I won't live in the perfect neighborhood. But I can live in a good neighborhood, a decent neighborhood where I can pretty much feel safe, during daylight hours, going in and out of my apartment, going shopping, going to work and things like that. So, if there's, of course, every area may be a little bit different, but you can find something. But again, I want people, if they want to look at financial freedom and they're not making a lot of money, they need to think about a roommate. If that's one thing I could leave you with, what I'm saying? And it's a difficult task, but if you jump onto that and you're willing to put money to the side, you could start saving money. And maybe after 2 years, you'll have enough money for a down payment for a home. Because sometimes owning a home is less than actually renting an apartment. And with these extra rooms, you can use that as a way, because you own the property, to bring in other people as roommates, so you can start making money for yourself. So we can get into that later, but just think about the possibility of having a roommate, or becoming a roommate of someone else's place, so you can save money to purchase a home.
Oh, that was great.
Mm.
So next week we're coming on Saturday at 2 o'clock, and the our subject is going to be, our topic is going to be tracking your spending. So Jeff, we'll see you next Saturday.
Okay, I'll see you guys next Saturday.
All right. Do you have any social media handles that you well, not handles, but platforms that you on, or your email, or if somebody have a question for you?
Well, if they can, on your on YouTube page, if they submit a question, then I can answer it from there.
Okay, that's great. All right, thanks, Jeff, so much. Talk to you later.
Okay. Okay.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that's closed our interview with Jeff Whitelaw, and he's a excuse me, I'm trying to get it straight. I forgot what he said, but anyway. So all right, thank you guys. That's the end of the interview.